Hello, everybody, and welcome wherever you might be right around Australia. This is NBL Overtime. Hashtag NBL Overtime to get involved. And we have that's right, 2 game threes. So much to get into. A Wednesday night. Leonard Copeland.
What's happening?
It's going to be rocking. How you doing, baby?
It's going to be rocking this Wednesday. Can you believe it?
I can't.
I can't wait.
Liam Santa Maria, hello to you.
What's happening?
Before we get into everything, I want to make this comment. I want to see what you two men,
here we go.
if you agree with this, right? So Wednesday night, so we're 24 hours away from what I believe is the biggest 4 hours in NBL history.
Wow.
2 game threes, right? Hosted by 2 major markets in Perth and Melbourne, which absolutely in a broadcast world matters, against 2 fairy tale stories, Tasmania chasing their first, Illawarra, everything they've been through.
That's big.
3, these are game threes, do or die, for 4 hours. I'm not saying these are the biggest games in the history of the league. It's standalone games. There's no other sport in Australia on a Wednesday night. It's just the NBL that has the full focus of everyone. I will go straight off the top, the biggest 4 hours in NBL history.
I believe he.
You agree?
You think about it that way, the way he explained it, it's the biggest 4 hours.
I think anytime you say in NBL history, I think, okay, is recency bias kicking in?
Yeah.
Is it kicking in? Are you
baby.
recognising everything that came before?
Yep.
When Copes and Drewy beat the Wildcats in 93 and how big those hours
One game
were.
And they were 2 hours.
Yeah.
This is not
4.
This is not a championship series
It
game.
isn't. It's 4 hours.
But they're huge.
From pillar to
And
post.
people will be glued to the TV. If they're not at the game, they'll be glued to the television.
Big games.
Absolutely. We can't wait for it. I'm not going to sleep tonight. There you go. I've said it. I'll put it on the agenda. And I'm going to start with what happened last night. I'm going to go to you first because you were in the building. My State Bank Arena was absolutely electric, remarkable. Huge lead early for the Wildcats. The JJs grounded away, and in the end, they force a game 3. What was it like being there?
It was incredible. It was a fantastic experience to be in that building, and everybody who was in that building, 95% Jack Jumper fans
99%.
would attest to that because, their entire season was on the line. They'd been there twice before in their previous seasons in that exact same situation, but that crowd rode every play, and it was just a tough, hard-fought game. And, Perth were up double digits. Geez, they were up 10 with just a minute or so to go in the second quarter. And Bryce was rolling at 24 at three-quarter time. So did Milton Doyle. And then in the fourth quarter, all those other jackies stepped up. Not a single point for the Jack Jumpers in the final quarter. They poured on 28 points from the likes of Magnay and McVeigh and Sean McDonald and a bunch of other guys stepping up. And it was an incredible atmosphere, and they sent it to a decisive game 3.
2 very important people in this game from the beginning, Doolittle. I thought Doolittle was exceptional. He started the game off strong, going to grabbing every rebound, posting up guys, knocking down shots. He was massive because Cotton needs some help to win games. If you don't have help, you can't do it. All right? If they shut Cotton down, who's going to score? All right, I thought Doolittle was fantastic. On the other hand, it was some stronger guys that came off the bench for the Jack Jumpers. Dean. Played great. Knocked down threes, right? McDaniel.
No.
McDonald, sorry.
McDonald, yep.
Sean McDonald. The fact that you trust him to play the minutes that he's playing late in the game is special to me. I mean, and he holds his own. That's what I love about him. He plays great defense on one end, but you have to know where he is on the opposite end because he's going to knock down shot after shot after shot. He looks like a veteran out there. He looks like a player that's been playing for years and years, and I love the way he plays.
Let's start with Sean McDonald because he's the most improved player in the league. He wins the award. And you make a really good point. When we've seen players who have tried to curb the influence of Bryce Cotton over the years, they haven't necessarily been able to be, at the other end, overly effective. So you've got a guy out there who's scratching and poking and pushing and prodding Bryce Cotton, make his life difficult, which is what you need to do. You can't stop him. You just have to subdue him and make him nowhere near as efficient as possible. And he did that in the fourth quarter last night. But a couple of times we've seen there, he's able to go to the other end and also keep Cotton accountable down the other end. And it's not something we have been able to see a great deal of. That little left-hand scoop you just seen there by Sean McDonald was honestly really pretty. And he's a huge reason as to why we have got a game 3.
Yeah, he's absolutely. Go ahead.
But you know what, too? When Jordan Crawford plays, he was terrible. I'm terrible last night. He didn't play well last night.
Yeah, rough
1
night.
for 9. He had
Yes,
a rough
sir.
night. But when you can bring a guy in off the bench, as long as you get the points from that position,
Yeah.
you're going to do fine. And that's what he does.
Well, how does Scott Roth not? It didn't even bat an eyelid that his star import's having a really dirty night on the biggest game of the season. He just the belief that Scott Roth and Justin Tatum instill in every single player is on full effect right now.
Yeah, and Scott Roth has done this over the years, right? We saw this with Josh Majette a couple of times when he was having a rough night. And sometimes it was Sean McDonald, other times it was Jared Weeks to say, hey, listen, that guy's getting it done. I'm just going to roll with him. So that was terrific. Now, McDonald didn't do it alone on Cotton in the fourth quarter because the whole team was locked into when they needed to double him. Get the ball out of his hands. And then for the Wildcats, they need other guys to step up in those moments.
Well, you're right. And game one was Keanu Pinder. Last night was not. You were there. You were there, and he was in foul trouble. And John really said post-game that he was just in foul trouble. He couldn't get into a rhythm. But it was interesting scenes, to say the least. You were closer than Copes and I were. What did you make of this situation firsthand?
Well, he obviously, this was the moment where the game kind of went away from Pinder. So he was involved in that bang-bang play. You see there he's not feeling great. And here he is talking with the medical staff after that. Now, it was midway through the second quarter, and he sat out the rest of the second quarter. He clearly wasn't feeling great, went into the sheds at halftime, came out, started the third term. Now, the start of the third quarter, he comes out, jacks a few threes. He picks up his fourth foul. He goes out, comes back, picks up his fourth foul. And then, came back in later, picked up his fifth foul. The whole second half was a bit of a write-off for Keanu Pinder. So, what I was talking about on the broadcast last night, something wasn't right. He wasn't feeling right in some kind of way, and as a result, he wasn't able to have the impact that he had in game one. And in game one, that impact, Copes, was game-winning.
Absolutely. 25 points, 7 rebounds. What did he have, 5 threes? He just didn't look the same.
Either way, those threes he had, they were good looks. They were good looks. They were the ones that he knocked down in game one, and they're the shots you have to knock down, be it Keanu Pinder, be it Jordan Usher, be it whoever it might be who comes off the bench, because they make life difficult for Bryce Cotton. There's double teams. There's Usher, step back. They didn't have the ability in the fourth quarter last night. That's one of the most filthiest dunks you'll ever see, and then right back at him was Marcus Lee. But you will never be in a situation, if you are Perth, if you can't have guys hit shots when Cotton is being guarded like last night, Copes, you won't win major games if you don't step up and deliver.
Let me just say this. What a series, though. Dunk after dunk, three-pointer after three-pointer. These guys are going at it, man. And look how physical it is. Guys are hitting the floor, Cotton being double-teamed. You got guys knocking down shots. It gives you goosebumps to see these guys go the way they're going at it.
Listen, I remember being over at the Summer League after Bryce Cotton, after... I can't remember whether it was his first year or his second year, and the Perth Wildcats were trying to recruit who was going to be one of their imports alongside him. You got Cotton, you got a big, and then who's going to be on the wing. And their whole thing, we were like, what about this guy and what about that guy? And Trevor Gleeson he shoots 25% from three. He shoots 28% from three. Eventually, the guy they brought back was Tarico White. And the reason was we need a guy who can knock down shots. Because teams are going to try to throw bodies at Bryce Cotton, and we need guys who can A, space the floor to open up the lane, but B, when they do that and they get caught in rotation, we need guys on the perimeter who can knock down shots. You remember Mitch Norton or Damian Martin used to get to the dunker spot. The supporting cast around Cotton needs to be ready to tick the scoreboard over. And in the fourth quarter, first quarter, last night, Christian Doolittle, yes. But in the fourth quarter, they weren't able to get that done enough.
This game three is set up for, I won't say one man, it's set up for one surname, and it's Webster. And I don't know if it's Ty or if it's Corey. We had a Corey Webster sighting last night, and he actually came in, hit a couple of shots. He doesn't really seem fazed by this. He's been in these incredible situations, not just for the Breakers in championship runs, but also for New Zealand. Now, I don't know how much they're going to lean on Corey Webster when it comes to a deciding game, but one of the Webster brothers needs to be the one. Ty stood up. We seen it moments ago in game one. Someone's going to have to stand up. And that's what, when we spoke about earlier in the year, when Illawarra guarded Bryce Cotton really well, Ty Webster didn't play. Right? He didn't get going. They were able to double team, keep the ball out of his hands, whatever it might have been. A Webster brother is going to have to come up with some big moments in game three if the Perth Wildcats are to win it.
Yeah, I don't feel like it necessarily has to be a Webster brother because they've got a lot of guys. It was Pinder in game one, right? We spoke about Doolittle. Sometimes it can be Usher. Think about that game against
down a couple of
Hiram Harris has had a couple of those games. Now, think about that game against Adelaide at RAC Arena. Who was it late?
Alex
Pop, Alex back-to-back threes. So it's not always the same guy.
I agree. I just have
they've all got to be ready to go.
Faith in Tyle Corey Webster to hit a huge shot than I do Hiram Harris, who's had an outstanding year. So I'm not taking away from what and how important he is to this team.
Yeah.
But I think in the fourth quarter of a do or die, let's get to the championship series, it's someone who's been able to do it before.
Well, that's Steph.
May well possibly be.
I mean, sometimes it's
got that
great stuff.
experience,
Yeah, for sure. Now, hold on. We're talking about all these different guys. Has anybody said the name Milton Doyle? Because what he did last night in that third quarter was spectacular. Series on the line. Season on the line for his team. He's their main guy. And in the third quarter, they're down 5 at halftime. He has 15 points. He took the game by the scruff of the neck and he shook it for all it was worth. And he started to dance with the rock and make plays and knock down big shots in big moments. 15, you've been there and done this, Copes, in the biggest of games. 15 third quarter points when your team's season is on the line. Pretty spectacular.
I got a small little quick story about him too. His, as you know, his father passed. And his mom used to play basketball back in the day. Now, she's friends with Eddie Cox. She sends a message yesterday saying, he better pick his game up or he's going to be coming home. So the message was, we need a real game from you because you've been down these first couple of playoff games. And his message was, I'm going to work. He sent that message to Eddie. Eddie sent it to me. So I knew he was going to have a pretty good game. And I think that's going to carry him over the top because he knows he has to be aggressive. Even if he's not knocking down shots, he has to take those shots. He has to be aggressive because if he's not, they're in trouble.
That third quarter was really spearheaded by their two best players, in particular offensively. Jack McVeigh got them going in the third quarter. There was a couple of plays they needed to get a bit of momentum going, and then Milton Doyle just went to work. And it is so cool to see. We've talked about the longevity of imports, and you were really one of the poster boys of that. The ability for fans to see a same player year in, year out when they're not necessarily locals is cool, and it's able to build a brand. To see Milton Doyle do that on the biggest stage excites everyone, not just Jack Jumpers fans. And I can't wait. I can't wait for Game 3. Who's going to win?
No, well,
come on, give me.
I think Tasmania's going to win.
So you were both with Tassie last week before the series started. You still the same?
Well, it really depends on what we talk about later. I think Tassie has a very good chance.
Okay.
It's a toss-up, man.
Just give me, mate. What are you sitting on the fence for? Just give me a name.
I'm not on the fence.
Oh, yes, you are.
Perth are at home.
Yeah.
I'm going with Perth.
So you've changed your tip now?
I have.
Okay. I'm with Perth just because I'm going to side with Bryce Cotton. But the momentum, as what traditionally happens, is with the JJs. But I'll go with the Wildcats. I chose them to win it, and I'm going to stick with them.
Can I just say, though, I'm so glad we're going to a Game 3 in this series. Now, we're going to Game 3 in both series. And that other series we're going to talk about because it's spectacular. But I'm so glad that this one's going to a Game 3 after what happened with Marcus Lee. Because I don't know how we haven't had a chance to talk about it, but I didn't like where that landed.
No, well, nobody did, and nor should anyone.
So it would have been a crying shame if off the back of that, then they lose in Game 2, and we'll forever think, well, geez, what happened to that series with Marcus Lee getting suspended?
Hashtag NBL Overtime. It has been a huge 12 months because this time last year, Liam didn't even like the state of Tasmania, and now he's saying the JJs will make the championship series. A quick break. Plenty more on the other side of this. Right around Australia, welcome back. NBL Overtime. Hashtag NBL Overtime to get involved. Via all our socials at NBL as we head towards not one, but 2 Game 3s on a Wednesday night. Championship series on the line. Can't wait for it. Now, we touched a little bit on Game 2, of course, Perth and Tasmania, and might be a developing story as we head towards Game 3. Olgun, Uluc, we've had to shoehorn you into the show a little earlier. Welcome to you.
Thank you.
What do you got
Thanks,
for us?
guys. So, you guys spoke earlier about the importance of not just Keanu Pinder, but the entire supporting cast of the Perth Wildcats. And he played less than 14 minutes in that Game 2. There was a moment where there was a bang-bang play with Will Magnay. He tried to get up, then sort of like faltered to the floor a little bit, sort of went on one knee, had to regather himself, and then he looked out of whack on the bench. So naturally, a lot of us asked some questions, and I asked a question to his agent earlier today, and asked, was something wrong with Keanu? What happened here? And his agent told me that at the time he was feeling extremely dizzy. There were some knocks in Game 1 that he sustained. Went into Game 2, that bang-bang play happened and felt dizzy after that. I was told that he was trying to get the room to stop spinning, is what I was told. I've asked Perth about this. They've told me that after Game 1, when he received some of those head knocks, he was assessed. So here is that first head knock, sort of banging heads with Anthony Drmic there, obviously in some discomfort there. And then there was another play where he obviously dunked on Marcus Lee, and shortly after, there's a bang. And then this went to a timeout. He was on the floor after that timeout, and there was another possession where he got hit in the head. And so I asked Perth, they said he was assessed after this incident. He was assessed in game 2 after that incident as well. Here's that second one.
Okay,
Marcus Lee
this is where he gets dunked on.
Yeah. And you can see, there'll be another angle there where you can see a clear, there was an angle where you can see a clear elbow to the face. That was the bang-bang play. And so I asked Perth, they say he was assessed after both game 1 and game 2. He obviously continued playing, but the question was, why was he looking so out of whack like this? Right? He didn't look right. And I was told that there was some extreme dizziness here.
Are we expecting him to play game 3?
There is no indication that he won't play game 3. He continued this game. Obviously, he was in some foul trouble, fouled out in less than 14 minutes, but I've received no indication that he won't be playing in game 3.
Right. Well, that's interesting because certainly sitting courtside, it was last night in both games, to be honest, and those plays in game 1. Obviously, I remember the clash with Drmic. For a moment there, I thought maybe Drmic wasn't okay because he was sort of stumbling as he got back up off the ground. Interesting to go back and look at that vision there of Keanu in that moment. But certainly last night, sitting courtside, when he walked past and then when he sat down at the end of the bench, there was a strong sense for me that he was not okay in one way, shape or form or another. So it's interesting to see what you're pointing out, what took place in game 1, and then the fact that clearly he wasn't his normal self in game 2.
So Perth has said to you he was assessed after game 1 and during game 2. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's what they've told me. He continued playing. They didn't see any issue. And their medical team looked at it, play on, basically. And then there was another incident in that game 2 where Jack McVeigh gets fouled on a 3-point attempt, sort of whips back, almost like flops and hits his head. I've asked the Jack Jumpers about that. They told me that he didn't demonstrate any concussion-related symptoms. So he gets fouled on this 3-point attempt, falls back, hits his head.
That's heavy contact.
That's
on the
nasty.
hardwood. So I was told did not demonstrate any concussion-related symptoms, so he did not receive a concussion test.
So, in fairness, that's hard contact with the floor.
Yeah.
And he's grabbing the back of his head. Now, he didn't come out of the game. I was surprised he didn't come out of the game, Jack McVeigh, I'll be honest. Went to the free throw line, had 3 free throws, missed the first, made the next 2, and continued to play. So that was interesting in its own right.
He stayed down for a while as well. If you didn't see that, the aftermath, it would have been probably a minute to 90 seconds he was laying on the ground.
Ooh, not that
Bit
long.
too far?
Yep.
Minute?
Probably not a minute.
Really?
Might have felt that way.
It might have felt that way. Okay. Well, he was down for a little while, and there was concern from the broadcast team. I think it might have been Damon Lowry who was referencing it at the time. So, absolutely. Copes, you've been in these situations. You've taken some heavy hits over the years. You know, obviously in big, brutal playoff games. What do you make of it?
I got to be careful here because I'm no doctor, but I have played the game, and I have been hit. Pinder, if you get hit 3 or 4 times within a week, and now Perth might have done their job in the system. I don't know what they did and what they didn't do. But you can't take hits like this to the head. Listen to what I'm saying to you now. To the head. Obviously, they hurt him. He wasn't the same player yesterday. I'm not stupid. I could see him when he went down and he sat down. He wasn't the same player.
Let me add some further context into this, though, that I think helps with this conversation. Because look at where this contact happens with Drmic, right? It's sort of like his forehead around his eye. Now, let's remember now, on this play, obviously, it's the left elbow, is it?
Yeah.
From Marcus Lee that makes contact. Hard to see from that angle. Now, there, I thought maybe there was a glancing blow. As I watch it over and over and over again, I don't necessarily feel like there was. And obviously, he goes back onto the floor and he grabs at his face and the like. But let's revisit the reason why he's wearing that mask in the first place. Because he suffered the orbital fracture last year as a taipan that meant he missed a lot of games. And he told me in the preseason when I spoke to him at the Blitz that he's been told he needs to wear that mask the rest of his career. Because if indeed he suffers another similar injury to that eye, he has a chance to lose his vision in that eye. So now, if that was me and I cop any kind of knock to that area, I'm going to be pretty concerned that I'm whether or not I'm okay. So I think that adds a little bit of extra context to understanding, putting ourselves in Keanu's shoes in those moments, anything to do with that area where he's wearing that mask.
Anything further on this?
Not as it stands.
Okay.
As of right now, Keanu Pinder is ready to play in Game 3. We'll see what happens.
All right, let's go to something that broke late last week. Our man, Alan Williams, big source. He left this show and now he's left at least South East Melbourne Phoenix. What can you give us there?
So the South East Melbourne Phoenix conducted their review of all of their performance processes, and some of it was figuring out which of the players who are on maybe multi-year deals might not be right for the future of that team. They did not have a keen desire to retain Alan Williams for next season, so they initiated a buyout of some sort, or at least a mutual parting of ways, not necessarily a buyout. And so he is now off their roster for next season, and that gives them a lot of flexibility. Obviously, that he was on a lot of money. He was a significant part of that team. Obviously, a really significant part of the community, of Australia, and within the NBL ecosystem. So obviously a big out for them, mutual parting of ways. And from what I understand, it may not be the only change that gets made within that franchise.
We'll save that for yes or no, Coach, before you give us anything. What do you make of this?
Well, I just don't know why you would give him 2 years. I mean, and then try to release him unless you're gonna clean house and do everything, everybody. I mean, he was injured, but he still averaged a double-double. He still got the rebounds, he still got the points. And like you said, he was a part of the community and the fans loved him. So unless you're gonna go clean house, why would you change just him?
Olgun, he averaged 17 points and 11 rebounds, led the league in rebounds. I presume he led the league in double-doubles this season, or came very close.
In only 15 games as well.
In only 15 games. When you say that South East Melbourne Phoenix determined that he wasn't what they wanted in that spot moving forward, what was it about him that didn't fit what they're looking for?
There is a mixture of things when it comes to, for example, health. And is this someone who is could be a sustainable part of our franchise going forward? And then there's also an argument about the fit next to Mitch Creek. A lot of different things come into consideration here. But the overarching thing is that there will be a revamping of a lot of the basketball processes. Like I said, I don't think Alan Williams will be the only player that is going to be off contract that we assume will be in a Phoenix uniform next season. And there's also a consideration, I'm told, into the Phoenix bringing in a basketball general manager of some sort, a basketball decision maker to come in under Tommy Greer to basically head up a lot of the processes. Part of those processes were the medical ones, and Tommy Greer has gone out with a CEO's message to the fans of that club. Their head of high performance, Eric Hollingsworth, his contract came to an end and they won't be renewing that. That is a mutual parting of ways there, basically. And so they are on the market for a new head of high performance, which is a significant development for that team who had a lot of injuries this season.
Perhaps you insinuated a few weeks back that Source wasn't going to be back, despite the fact that he was under contract. Did you know something? Did you feel something?
Just rumors. I mean, I've been around as long as I've been around. People talk, and especially in the NBL.
Okay.
Everyone's talking, and I just heard that there are going to be major changes, and that, like Olgun just said, there's probably going to be some more changes that are going to surprise us.
Can I just say before we move on from this topic, hey man, we're going to miss Source.
We are going to miss
Source.
There's no doubt.
I hope someone in the league re-signs the man.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Source, if you're watching from home, we've loved having you on the desk, man, and getting to know you intimately and working with you. The NBL community has enjoyed your work on the show, on the broadcast, on the floor this season and last season. So hopefully you're back. Don't go signing in Japan or somewhere else. Come back to the NBL.
Unless you get that money, bro. You get that bag, we'll see.
Sydney Kings re-signing, but also Brian Goorjian, an interested onlooker at a particular game.
Yeah, so the re-signing is Sean Bruce. He's re-signed for 2 seasons. This is something that's been in the works for a while. So this was something pre-Gorge that was already on the cards. So that's official now. Brian Goorjian was recently in the Philippines for the EASL championship game. So the winner of that game gets $1 million USD. And Xavier Cooks and his Chiba Jets won that, so he gets presumably a cut of that $1 million. Brian Goorjian was in attendance, and I don't think it's any secret that Xavier Cooks is sort of priority number one for the Sydney Kings this offseason. They have his rights, and so if he wants to come back to the NBL, he can only be a Sydney King, basically. So he can slot very nicely into that contract that he left to go sign with the Washington Wizards. But he is someone of great interest to the Sydney Kings.
Just the Kings, or we're talking about the national team as well, or is
he was on the Australian Boomers at the World Cup, and so Brian Goorjian, the head coach of the Australian Boomers, who's now head coach of the Sydney Kings. You don't have to be a mathematician to draw all those lines.
What was the line that Xavier Cooks put up in that final game for the Chiba Jets?
It was a near triple-double, right?
It's like
eight blocks.
Enormous.
26 and 24, 26
Ridiculous.
points, 24 rebounds.
Hold on, 26 and 24?
26, 24, and 8 blocks.
Come on, man. Come back to the NBA.
Yeah, we need you back, man. We need you back. Now, Liam's favourite Swedish next star is declared for the NBA draft, I see.
True. Bobby Klintman officially declared for the NBA draft. Now, this almost seemed like we knew this was going to happen. And, you know, he's projected across mock drafts anywhere from sort of late lottery to 30-ish. Probably going to fall around the middle of that area. But he's someone who you can see what teams see in him.
Yep.
Right? You can see the upside. He's 6'10", can shoot it. There are defensive glimpses that you see from him. You understand why he's a projected, late lottery to late first-round pick in this draft. And again, this was always going to happen. He always seemed destined for that.
Good personality, too.
Yeah. I didn't get you in trouble by mentioning Swedish. I didn't want you to say it's your favourite next star. And then Alex has to sit out tomorrow night because he's heartbroken. Magnay, quickly, this is great news for the JJs. I know they get their eyes on other things, but this is great to get the big man locked away.
Yeah, he was one of the priorities for them going into this free agency. They lock him in before free agency even starts, which is huge.
Big
and this is also, we thought there could be sort of a carousel of the Australian or the local bigs this NBL season. It doesn't look like we're going to have that. You've got Isaac Humphrey staying in Adelaide, Will Magnay staying in Tasmania. Magnay is part of an Australian core, or a local core, that the Jack Jumpers are really trying to build around. That includes Magnay, Jack McVeigh, and Sean McDonald. And so they're engaged with extension talks with Sean McDonald. They want to lock those three up, definitely, for the future.
And quickly, New Zealand lost an import.
Technically, yes. Parker Jackson Cartwright signed a 1.5-year deal.
1.5?
With Galatasaray. So the remainder of this season and then the entirety of next season. This is Parker Jackson Cartwright showing out in the NBL and then getting that Turkish bag.
I presume Derek Rucker isn't the general manager of that team, but it is what it is. Thank you, Matt, as always. Huge news. Thank you. We'll get to a break. Plenty more NBL overtime.
1.5?
Right around Australia, NBL overtime, it's all happening. One more sleep. 2 do-or-die game threes on a Wednesday night to find out who's going to be going to the championship series. Now, Melbourne United have been atop the ladder for the majority of NBL 24, while the Illawarra Hawks have had a remarkable season where they sacked their coach and are now 40 minutes away from going to the championship series. Leonard Copeland.
Yes, sir.
This is a hell of a fairy tale. Now, I know how great the JJ story is, but what the Illawarra Hawks, Justin Tatum, and his merry men have been able to do is remarkable.
It's just something about the way they stay together. I mean, they make a lot of mistakes. They turn the ball over, but they find ways to win, man. Dave O'Hickey, let me tell you something about this guy. In the beginning of the year, he wasn't getting, was he getting any time at all? I don't think
spot minutes.
He was getting spot minutes, and he was making mistake after mistake after mistake. For you to have the trust in this guy, the way he's been playing, and for him to have the confidence the way he's been playing, is just magnificent. But then on top of all of that, the bigs inside. Frawley has been amazing. First game, 26 points. Second game, 19 points. Clark, he's what we thought he was, an NBA player.
Yeah.
All right? He's going to work. Robinson coming off the bench, he's accepted that role. He's doing what he needs to do. He's making mistakes, but he's finding guys. He's knocking down free throws. I love the way they're playing there.
Yeah, man, what an unbelievable series. To have a semi-final series where the first 2 games have both gone to OT is incredible. And you're right, Dave O'Hickey is one of the big stories as part of that. To be elevated into the starting lineup against New Zealand, because they go to they have the 3 guards in the starters, and then to play well and continue to hold that spot, and then to come out and do what he did in game 2. The 18 points, the season-saving basket to put it into OT was sensational. But it goes beyond Dave O'Hickey, doesn't it? Because as you say, Gary Clark, Justin Tatum, Tyler Harvey, the way he's playing for this team, the efficient way that he is operating at a high level. It's very, very impressive. But yeah, take nothing away from Melbourne United as well, because they were dead. 16 down with 6.5 minutes to go in game 1, and they were miraculously able to force that into OT and dominate through that overtime period. There's just I don't even know where to start or finish, because there's so much to unpack with what's taking place in this series.
I want to just echo Coach's sentiments on Sam Froling. Let's go back to the play-in qualifier where Magnay just put Sam Froling to the ground. He just belted him. He bullied him, and Magnay was amazing, and Sam Froling had a really disappointing game. He stood up and was huge against the New Zealand elimination game, in particular early, and then against JLA. And I loved his comments in the presser. The question was put to him, I'm paraphrasing, up against JLA, one of the best centres in the league. He goes, I think I am one of the best centres in the league. And he is. Now, this is obviously JLA need to stand up. Big game 3, but 2 huge things. Sam Froling, and Tyler Harvey was out of the league after about round 5. There was no talk of him really coming back. There's the naturalised conversation. He ironically might be naturalised prior to Bryce Cotton, but Tyler Harvey's ability in the last 10 weeks has been huge. And this is why they're right there with the chance to actually make the championship series. Sam Froling's incredible, and Tyler Harvey's ability to be able to play around Gary Clark, who is an NBA player and a legit superstar. It's cool. It's a great story. It is cool to see.
Last week I spoke about the 16. Was it last week when I spoke about the 16 days being off?
Yeah, you did.
That Melbourne United are very lucky. Now they got some talent on that team, and they got some experience. And Dean Vickerman is an excellent coach. All right, so yes, they did what they had to do to get that. But they're very lucky to even be in this. It could have been 2-0 straight away, because that first game, being down 16 points with 6 minutes to go, a foul called here or a missed shot called there, and Melbourne United would be at home.
That wasn't rust. That wasn't rust, Copes. That wasn't rust.
Yeah, no, I think it was.
Well, what? Then they're in the game and all of a sudden get blown down the third quarter?
Because now Melbourne have a place they can go defensively.
Yes, they do.
We've spoken about this from the very start of the season and in previous years under Dean Vickerman.
Yes.
Because he's this kind of coach. They have a place they can go defensively that no other team can get to, and that if they operate at that level for an extended period of time, they're going to win the championship.
Yes.
Because it's championship winning level defense. And they took almost the entire game, Cam, to get to that point.
I think it's underplaying. I think it's underplaying how well Illawarra are playing.
But if
to just suggest it was rust.
But if Melbourne defend at the level that they can, Illawarra can't win the series.
But I
agree with that?
Yes, to an extent.
But they didn't do it in the first, second, or the third quarters.
Well, they didn't really do it on Sunday then either.
Correct.
So I think that it's not necessarily... Had they have come out on Sunday and held Illawarra to 80 and won it and swept them and went to a grand final series, I'd be more inclined to suggest that it was a little bit of rust. I think the way Illawarra are playing match up really well and are getting to the spots they need to get to. Now, can Melbourne still play at a defensive level they need to win tomorrow night? Absolutely. But I think Illawarra, I think the rust argument diminishes how well Illawarra are playing.
Fair call. You said Melbourne are lucky. Was there a foul on Joe Luala-Chul? On the Gary Clark? On the inbounds play?
Yeah. That was a foul. We all know that was a foul. He pulled his jersey. What do you mean? It was a foul.
And so not just a foul, an unsportsmanlike foul.
Unsportsmanlike foul, absolutely. I thought Tatum made a small mistake by putting Adnam in.
Big mistake.
Big mistake. Okay? Big mistake.
Yeah. Because
he's a small guy, and you can't have him throwing the ball in, and he's rusty, hadn't played. And they made some mistakes, but they're good enough. And let me tell you something. They have confidence coming into Melbourne. I don't care what you say. I don't think tomorrow night's going to be a blowout.
No.
Illawarra have that confidence. When you go up 16 on a team and you just beat a team at your place, you're going to walk in the gym, not arrogant, but you're going to feel good about yourself.
Yes.
And for me, if Froling and Clark play well, they're going to give themselves a real chance.
The energy on the defensive glass was a major issue for Melbourne United in the second half. Illawarra just wanted it more in major moments. Now, if we're going to really slow it down. I'm sure that it's not necessarily just on an individual player or two, but the ability for them to get offensive rebounds and get belted in the rebounding stat earlier in the game on Sunday, then pretty much level it up, and getting every major offensive board to give them second and third possessions was a huge reason why they won the game. None bigger than Hickey being able to scoop it off the rim and be able to score right on that regulation. They need to find a way to match Illawarra's energy in moments, which they didn't do late in Sunday. Now, I still think Melbourne will win this, and I still think they'll win the championship. But they're 40 minutes away, this Illawarra team, from what is going to be a remarkable fairy tale.
We talk about moments. Like, that's the amazing. Every moment matters was the catchphrase of this season, right? But there's been in this series, because it's been so close, there's been so many key moments. The turnover from Adnam, Daly denying and getting that, and then obviously Chris going the long way round Justin Robinson to tie that game up. But then I go back to game 2. They're up 1, and Chris Goulding steps to the free throw line with 13 seconds remaining.
Yeah.
He misses one remarkably. You just expect Chris Goulding, who has been clutch over the course of his career, to knock both of those down. Now, he makes those. They have to hit a 3 to even send it to OT. That opens the door for Dave O'Hickey and the putback to get it there. It was shades of Ron Artest against the Phoenix Suns many years ago.
Yes, it was.
Chris would have been stewing over that missed free throw, and we haven't seen. He hit some big shots.
Yeah, but we haven't seen the real.
We haven't seen an explosion yet, have
right.
we, from him in the playoffs? And
does it have to come though for them to win, or
it doesn't have to? But if it does happen, think back to game 5 of the championship series in 2018 in John Cain Arena in that first half, and he just blew the 36ers out of the water. That has like Cotton, Milton Doyle. Yeah. There's certain guys around the league who have the potential to go on game-breaking runs.
We called a couple of games when he knocked down 3 or 4 or 5 threes in a row, and he changed the momentum straight away.
Who's the most important player tomorrow night in the game, in the whole game?
Tomorrow night?
Yeah,
Frawley.
in this game.
Frawley for me.
For me, it's Joe Luala-Chul.
It absolutely is. Because
we're talking the same language, because if Frawley goes off, then that means Joe didn't do his job. Yeah. If Joe Luala-Chul plays well, then you give yourself a better
I found it a little strange watching Joe Luala-Chul in that game too, because he was impactful at the start of that game.
8 points in the first quarter.
They couldn't handle it.
Like that. 6, 8
but then over the course of the rest of the game, he wasn't his usual aggressive self. He was going off floaters and touch shots instead of bodying a guy and knocking him over and then dunking and roaring. And down the other end, I felt like he was getting scored on. To be honest, I felt like Ariel Hook-Porty was playing better than him despite spending a lot of time on the bench. Melbourne, in Game 3, need a dominant performance from Joe Luala-Chul, and we know he's capable of providing.
Remember when he played against Brisbane? Yeah. He was dominant. No one could touch him?
No.
He needs to play like that.
He does.
Yeah.
But this has kind of been a bit indicative of his year. He's been sort of up and down. He hasn't, last time we've seen him play a full year in this league, he was top 3 MVP, he was all NBL first team. We know the story. He just exploded. He went and got the money, then he rolled back. He wanted to get to the NBA. Now, maybe it has been the weapons that Melbourne United have, and it's a little different, so I understand that. But I, at different times, have never felt really confident JLA is the guy we seen 2 seasons ago.
And you don't think it's there? I mean, we've seen in Brisbane that it's there.
Well, we've seen it once, right? Yeah. So he went from a top 3 player in the league, all NBL first team. I'm not saying he's had a bad year. He just hasn't got to the standards of which he set for himself 2 years ago. Now, he's still got the most important time of the year to do it. And he's got a big opportunity in a Game 3 at home against Sam Froling to prove it. And when he goes nuts, they traditionally do win.
Yeah, the other guy is Gary Clark. Because Luke Travers is I would imagine he's a little worried about Gary Clark coming into this Game 3. Because that 31 and 16, he was a dominant performer in Game 2.
Wow.
Are you going to Perth or Melbourne? Where are you going to be? The red eye. Copes, where are you going to be?
I'm on the couch. I want to watch both games, bro.
Couch?
Hey, I usually watch
arena.
No. I usually watch Master out the door.
Stuff maths. you know what Melbourne United should do? I don't know if it's even legal. Who wins, by the way?
Melbourne.
Melbourne.
All right, agreed. So if Melbourne win, right, we should all stay in the arena and they should put the next game up on the big screen. Just sit back there watching.
How cool would that be?
Now, again, don't know if it's legal, liquor license and all the rest of it. Let the beers flow and let me have a couple. We're going to get to a break. Plenty more NBL Overtime next.
it's an open book in the form. I hope it's 10 years, and I hope I last that long. But I really don't plan on bouncing. This is my last one, and I want to finish a king. But why don't you say, I don't know if it's going to be 5 years or 10 years or 3 years or whatever, but I'll know when it's done. And right now I have huge energy, and I want to finish my coaching at a king.
Brian Goorjian at the press conference where he's introduced as the new Sydney Kings coach a couple of weeks ago, but it's not his last job because he still has the Australian Boomers to get to the Paris Olympics and try and at least get back on the podium like they did in Tokyo. So let's have a quick little chat about where it sort of sits when it comes to the Australian Boomers and maybe an NBL player or two who might force their way into the squad or maybe even into the 12. Now, before I let you two gentlemen go, let's have a little look at both the Tokyo team that turned out to be 2021 Olympics, that won bronze, and the World Cup team that didn't have a hugely successful World Cup last year. So there you go, Mills, Dellavedova, Ingles, Baines, Thibault, Exum, who's gone to a new level since Tokyo. In fact, it was really the catalyst to get him going. Green K, Landale, CG, Reith, and Nathan Sobey. So some NBL representation there when it comes to CG 43, Nathan Sobey in particular. Landale had just come out of the league in the NBL. Nick Kay, of course, had played in a not too distant past. Now let's have a look at the World Cup squad from last year. There it is, couple of changes. Dyson Daniels came in, Xavier Cooks and Josh Giddey. Golding was still there from an NBL point of view, and that really is about it. Give me a name, Liam Santamaria. Give me a name from the NBL that you think's a legitimate chance to play at the Paris Olympics.
Will Magnay. He's the name because you need depth at the 5 spot.
Yep.
We found that out the hard way last campaign when Landale went down prior to the World Cup beginning. So with Dewop, Reith, Jock, Landale, but you need other strong bigs who can come in. And his ability to protect the rim and his ability to impact the game without necessarily needing the ball in his hands as a pick and roll lob threat over the top. Now there's other good bigs, Isaac Humphries, Keanu Pender, Sam Froling, for sure. But for me, Will Magnay is probably sitting atop those guys as an potential impact guy at the FIBA level.
I know Chris Golding's already been on the team. I like Chris Golding with minutes. You know what I'm saying? Give him a couple of minutes, because as we've seen, he can open up a game. Now, his specialty is 3-pointers. He's not going to take you to the rim. He's not going to dunk on you. But one thing he will do is knock down threes. And if he starts to knock down those threes, even if he's missing, you got guys like Cooks or Lansdale grabbing rebounds, giving him an opportunity. He can change the game. So I'd love to see him play on that team with minutes.
I think there's no doubt Chris Golding's in this team.
You think?
By the time they get to Paris. I think that there was a...
no doubt at all?
No doubt at all. Wow. No doubt.
Wow.
Do you disagree?
I think there's doubt.
Okay, you think there's doubt?
The Chris Golding from the first half of the season, there was no doubt.
Yep.
Right. All NBL first team, he ended up top 3 in MVP voting, but a lot of it was based on he was lights out to begin this year, but it's gone a little.
So who
you know why there's doubt? Because Gordon took him and didn't play him a minute.
Yeah.
So why would you take him again?
It was weird. He should have played more.
Yeah, fair. I'll grant you that, because that was a weird situation. In fact, there were games that he was desperately needed, or at least his skill set was desperately needed, and he sat on the pine. If it's not Chris Golding, who's the where they look for a shooting?
Maybe Vasiljevic.
Would you take Vasiljevic over Golding?
No.
For this Olympics?
Not for this Olympics. No.
I agree. Now, the Patty Mills situation, we briefly discussed it last week. He's at the Miami Heat.
Yes.
Now, they're going to make
playing well already. Came in, knocked down some shots early in the game. Yeah.
He did. Is it going to help him fill the void of which you're worried about? Is he going to play enough?
Absolutely he is.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to play him. They're going to let the way he came in that first game and knocked down shots. I think he had 8 points in the first quarter. He got going. 11 and a half or something. He got going. So he feels good about himself. He's been working on his game. He's always a professional. Do
you think that you had a concern of him, or you didn't think he may start? If he does this continually and helps Heat and plays more minutes, do you think he'll retain that starting spot?
I'd like for him to start, but I don't want him to be the main focus. Because he was the only guy that was getting 20 shots or 25 shots. because you got these NBA guys, Josh Green, and you got Exum, and you got Lansdale, who are now playing major minutes in the NBA. Move that ball around a little bit. Let those guys play.
Lansdale.
Lansdale.
Oh, it's plural. We want two of you.
Sure, I would love two of him. Let's go. This part of me just feels like he'd be better now as the spark plug scorer off the bench. Giddy, Green, Dante. I feel like it would be like, and Gorge knows what he's doing, and he will work all this out through the process and at camp and the like. But it just feels like what we need is to really create a new identity. It was all through Paddy previously in that when we beat the USA at Marvel and when we
don't rub it in, bro. Don't.
2016 and Tokyo.
What's wrong with this
But
guy?
that last campaign, it felt like there was some confusion about who we were and what we were supposed to be doing. And maybe it's just an easier transition to say, hey, he's the spark plug.
I got a question.
Whatever you ask, Cobes, I'll answer it.
Nick K, Ingles, who misses out?
They'll both go.
They both go?
They both go.
Yeah, they'll both go. But I've got a question for you.
Oh, yeah.
Is Matthew Dellavedova closer to the Boomers team than he was at the start of the year?
I think with
Yes.
did you say yes? Mm-hmm. I think the way he's playing right now, he gives himself an opportunity, but it's just so many other guys.
So recency bias plays a part occasionally in this. And 3 years ago, we sat on this desk every week. They announced the Boomer squad a long way out, and Nathan Sobey ripped the season apart. It was really, really good. Yeah. We sat on his desk and kept saying Nathan Sobey has to be in the squad. Now, I never thought he would make the team. He goes to the camp, rips it apart, ends up being a bronze medal winning Olympic player, right? So there are opportunities to go to camp and impress Brian Gorge and get a chance. I know I think Dellavedova is this year's partial Nathan Sobey, which sounds weird because he's been such a leader of this team for 10 or 11 years. He's forced his way.
How many guards are you trying to take, though?
Let him go into camp and roll the pills out and take it away. He's forced his way in.
He is playing at an unbelievable level. 30 points, 10 assists, 7 boards, 4 steals in game 1. The shot wasn't going down in game 2 to the same extent, but he was still very, very good and clutch. The team didn't get over the line. Remember the start of the season at the Blitz? What Matthew Dellavedova was doing? And remember all the talk about the Matthew Dellavedova revenge tour that NBL 24 was going to be? Now, in the middle, throughout the regular season, it wasn't that. But at the start, and certainly now at the finish, he is putting himself in that kind of
Kelly
picture.
over Golding?
No, well, you need a shooter.
You can't take both. You can't take them both.
Well, it's going to be hard.
Giddy, Dyson Daniels, Dante, and Deli?
Well, is Dyson Daniels' knee going to be okay? So that's the next question, right? Now he's got the meniscus, right? So he's going to take... Firstly, it's a wonderful problem to have, which is what we've spoken about, the depth of Australian basketball. Sure. But I think Matthew Dellavedova is absolutely... I don't know how true that whole he wasn't invited to the last camp story was, but absolutely he deserves to be at this camp one last time.
For sure. Credit to him.
Absolutely.
Hashtag NBL Overtime to get involved. Want to squeeze a break in, yes or no? We've got Sanders watching.
Yes, sir.
Can't wait for that. Did you run onto any courts this week?
No.
Good. Plenty more next.
Sanders watching, boys?
Here
You
we
like
go.
nachos?
Of course, who doesn't like nachos?
I have no idea. I'm going to watch the game here when I get home and have some nachos and fly back. And I really don't worry about being back here Wednesday night. I'm worried about getting some nachos tonight and taking a chill.
He wants nachos.
Our man wants some nachos.
They are delicious.
Hey, keep an eye on Bawali Bales. He wants a little love here from Blanchfield, and he gets nothing. Anyway, he gets in, and then he's like, hey, shush up. Shush up. Hey, check out my man Felix. Do you think he was happy the Perth won? Is he a Wildcats fan?
He's just happy about the red eye.
Fun, isn't he? Look at
He's like, I'm getting on the red eye. Hey, keep an eye on Ty Webster, fellas, as Jordan Usher's shooting these free throws.
What is he doing?
That's good supporting.
That is great supporting.
Ty's the best, man. Ty, I could just do a whole Sanders watching on Ty Webster. Look at the love he gives here. Elite celebration mode from Webster. And then the end of the game in Tassie, he's a man of the people.
That's the only spare seat in the stadium he found.
And I enjoyed this, guys, in Illawarra. Of course, it was Justin Tatum's birthday.
Yes.
And the guys got him a little bit of birthday cake to celebrate. Hey, when he blew out the candle, what do you think he wished for?
Oh, man. Championship series.
Do you wish for a game win? In game 2, a series win?
Series win.
Series win. Like it. All right, yes or no?
He's greedy.
Play the sting.
Nah.
Okay, still here, are we? All right, so we're going to open up a little bit here. We've got a little bit of time. You ready?
Oh, do it.
Oh.
Ready for this?
Okay.
I'll start with you. Should a team chase DJ Newell?
Yes.
Isn't he a Brian Gorgian
Wow,
type
how
of
long has he been
player?
Brian Gorgian type of player?
playing?
Sure.
How long ago was that? 5 years ago?
3 or 4. Is it Cairns 3 or 4 years?
I love you just
Made a
maintaining
semi-final? 5
the
years ago,
Newell
man.
love.
I love DJ Newell. Sue me.
Obviously.
Actually, don't. Will Mitch Creek be at Southeast Melbourne Phoenix next year?
No.
What do you think?
No.
Bro, don't even try it. I'm just, he asked me a question, I just feel like they might make major
He's under
changes.
contract.
So
Last
was
time you
Sauce.
said
that.
So was Sauce. What is he talking about?
I think he knows some stuff.
I know nothing.
What are you
I know
doing here?
nothing.
I'm just asking the question. Is it stupid, like ludicrously
Probably.
stupid,
Yes.
when NBL and WNBL finals are played at the same time?
Absolutely.
It's not ideal.
Oh, so you agree with me? Say a big yes. Come on, man. As,
that's not what we
as a
want.
country, we need to get better at this.
Sure.
Sure. Would a team in Canberra work?
Yes. It's worked before. Yes, it'll work.
Has it worked before? They're defunct.
Well,
1995.
well, some teams in Melbourne did the same, but I just feel like
Well, that's-
people in Canberra need love.
it's working
Give them a
in
game.
Tassie.
Yeah, that's right. Give them,
Do you think a Canberra team would work?
It's working in Tassie.
got a
when
stadium
that
up
team
there
went
already.
defunct.
You know, they got players. Yeah, they got to win.
Will Brian Gorgian win another NBL title?
Yes.
Ooh, that's big.
He's the man.
It is hard to argue with that. Would Tassie winning the title be a bigger fairy tale than Illawarra?
No, because I expect that because the way they've been playing the last 2 or 3 years, I think it's going to happen sooner rather than later. It's going to happen. Isn't it?
Never hoisted the title. Never hoisted
That's
the.
all
Is
right.
it a bigger story?
No
bigger fairy
way.
tale?
The Hawks are the Cinderella story of this season.
Yeah.
You're living in the past,
No,
man.
I'm not living in the past. I just think it'd be amazing if Tassie won a title. It'd be great if either of them won a title. I also don't buy the house money stuff. They're right there. Forget the
Right
house
there.
money.
Yeah,
They're 40
right
minutes
there.
away. I'm not going to sleep. I'll see you in Melbourne. He'll be in Perth. See ya.
I'll be on the couch.